The school beauty, Chun Mingxue, was adored by everyone at school and also my childhood friend. She fell for a school bully, and her grades plummeted. I told her parents about it, breaking the two of them up. After college graduation, she married me. Within a few years, I contracted a terminal illness. As my consciousness faded, Chun Mingxue whispered in my ear, "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have lost Ma Xiaoyu. All these years, I've hated you every single day and night." Opening my eyes again, I was reborn back to the time before Chun Mingxue fell for the school bully. This time, I chose to push things along to help them get together. But I didn't know that Chun Mingxue had also been reborn, and in the previous life, Chun Mingxue had told me a white lie. Chun Tianla, Ma Xiaoyu confessed his feelings to me. Do you think I should say yes? I was dozing off deeply in my desk when someone pushed me awake. Seeing the young and beautiful Chun Mingxue before me, I jumped in shock. Who am I? Where am I? I looked at myself in astonishment, then at the familiar yet strange classroom before me. Looking back at Chun Mingxue, could it be? Have I been reborn? Chun Tianla, what's wrong with you? Chun Mingxue looked at me with surprise and asked, "Why are you acting so strange today?" Hold on, don't say anything yet. I pinched myself hard, confirming I was alive and not dreaming. Looking at Chun Mingxue again, I suddenly felt very conflicted. In my past life, the school bully Ma Xiaoyu confessed to Chun Mingxue, and she agreed. From then on, her grades plummeted. Unable to bear watching her go downhill, I chose to tell her parents, and they were ultimately broken up. After college graduation, Chun Mingxue married me. However, I developed a terminal illness when I was only 30. As my consciousness faded, Chun Mingxue said in my ear, "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have lost Ma Xiaoyu. All these years, even though I married you, I've hated you every single day and night." It was hard to imagine that the person sleeping beside me every night hated me constantly. Fine then, I'll let you be together. Thinking this, I looked at Chun Mingxue again and said, "What were you asking me just now?" "Honestly, you..." Chun Mingxue blushed slightly, then said in a low voice, "Ma Xiaoyu confessed to me. Do you think I should say yes to him?" "Say yes." Without the slightest hesitation, I nodded. "Definitely say yes. I wholeheartedly approve." Huh? Chun Mingxue stared at me, shocked, as if those words should never have come from my mouth. "Don't hesitate. You should boldly pursue your own love, right? If it were me, I'd just nod yes immediately, without any hesitation." I told Chun Mingxue the answer with absolute certainty. Chun Mingxue looked even more surprised. "But you..." "We're just neighbors who happen to be born in the same year and grew up together. That's all. Compared to your love life, I'm nothing." Of course, I knew what Chun Mingxue wanted to say, but I didn't give her any chance. I cut her off. "Just hurry up and say yes to Ma Xiaoyu. You won't find another guy as good as him if you miss this chance. If I were a girl, I'd even actively pursue him. He's really great." "Why do I get the feeling you're being sarcastic?" Chun Mingxue asked doubtfully. "No, absolutely not. I meant every word. If you're not being sarcastic, then you're just brushing me off. I'm done talking to you." Chun Mingxue turned away angrily. She sat in a row in front of me. Looking at her back, I suddenly felt a pang inside. Did I hate her? No. Even knowing everything, I didn't actually hate her. In the previous life, she had been my wife for several years. Although our life together was uneventful and we didn't have children, we were husband and wife after all. How could there have been no feelings between us? Besides, we aren't just husband and wife. We're childhood sweethearts who grew up barefoot together. In fact, not only do I not hate her, I actually feel very guilty toward her. In my previous life, if I hadn't ruined her relationship with Ma Xiaoyu, she wouldn't have held onto that resentment. Besides, if she had really ended up with Ma Xiaoyu, she might well have been happy. Although Ma Xiaoyu is a slacker, who's to say marrying a slacker means no happiness? The reality is that some slackers have exceptionally high emotional intelligence. Many thrive once they enter society, even becoming big bosses, while bookworms like me end up working for others. Since I've been reborn, I naturally want to live differently. As for Chun Mingxue, I owed her too much in my previous life, and in this life I want to repay it all. So, not only will I not break them up, I'm going to help things along. Soon, it was time for school to end. Chun Mingxue and I walked home together. All the way, she looked furious deliberately ignoring me and even quickening her pace, try to shake me off. Seeing this, I hurried to catch up. Shouldn't you go find Ma Xiaoyu and say yes to him? Chun Tianla. Chun Mingxue stopped angrily, staring furiously at me. What on earth do you mean? What I mean is, Ma Xiaoyu is really a good guy. You should say yes to him. You'll definitely be happy together. I said with utter sincerity. If you're crazy. Chun Mingxue was livid and snapped at me. I looked at Chun Mingxue stunned. This wasn't how things went in the previous life. In the previous life, Chun Mingxue asked for my opinion, and my answer was the opposite. I didn't approve of her dating Ma Xiaoyu, analyzed the pros and cons for her, and hoped she would focus on her studies and wait until university to date. But Chun Mingxue didn't listen to me anyway, and ended up dating Ma Xiaoyu regardless. But what was happening now? Puzzled, I looked at Chun Mingxue and asked, "Why are you yelling at me? I want you to be with Ma Xiaoyu. This is for your own good." "You're talking nonsense." Chun Mingxue got even angrier. "The college entrance exams are almost here. Instead of encouraging me to study hard, you're encouraging me to date? You call that looking out for me? That sounds completely unreliable." Huh, I was speechless. Shouldn't I be the one saying that? "Yeah, but you didn't say it," Chun Mingxue exclaimed. "This?" I was utterly speechless and looked at Chun Mingxue again. "Do you actually want to be with Ma Xiaoyu or not?" "No," Chun Mingxue answered bluntly. "Are you sure?" I asked, unable to believe it. "I'm sure. Definitely. Positively." Chun Mingxue, growing impatient, gave me an answer completely different from the previous life, then turned and left angrily. I stood there, utterly bewildered. What was going on? This wasn't right. Could it be that because I tried too hard to push things along, it had the opposite effect? This wouldn't do. I had to get Chun Mingxue and Ma Xiaoyu together to make up for Chun Mingxue's regret from the previous life. The next day, I waited for Ma Xiaoyu at the school gate. Motorcycles were forbidden at school, but Ma Xiaoyu still rode his to school every day. The sight of him pulling up was indeed cool and charismatic. Seeing this, I could somewhat understand why Chun Mingxue had liked Ma Xiaoyu in the previous life. A free-spirited, unconventional guy like him, compared to the tense atmosphere surrounding the college entrance exams, truly stood out, offering a refreshing sight. Perhaps these qualities held a special appeal for girls. I watched Ma Xiaoyu ride his motorcycle into the school grounds and even overheard a few girls whispering nearby. "Wow, that must be Ma Xiaoyu, right? He's so handsome. I heard he's been pursuing Chun Mingxue from class 2 lately. What's so great about Chun Mingxue? She just has a pretty face, that's all. If you ask me, she's nothing special." Exactly. Listening to some girls gossiping, I quickly hurried to the bike shed. Ma Xiaoyu was about 185 meters tall, half a head taller than me, with long, glossy black hair, cool and handsome just like that Rukawa kid. "You're Ma Xiaoyu, right?" I stepped forward and asked. A glint flashed in Ma Xiaoyu's eyes. They felt very cold. "Who are you?" Ma Xiaoyu asked. "I'm Chun Mingxue's classmate," I said with a smile. "I heard you're pursuing Chun Mingxue and even confessed your feelings to her." "What do you mean?" Ma Xiaoyu stared at me, saying somewhat angrily, "You like her too? You came here to declare war on me, right?" "A misunderstanding. I didn't come to declare war. I came to help you win Chun Mingxue over," I quickly explained. "Hilarious. You and I don't even know each other. Why would you be so kind?" Ma Xiaoyu exclaimed dismissively. "I think you just have ulterior motives." "Absolutely not." I was speechless inside. Being a matchmaker is so hard these days. How come I can't please either side? "Then give me a reason," Ma Xiaoyu demanded, staring at me. His gaze felt very intense. I frowned and said, "Actually, I'm Chun Mingxue's neighbor. We grew up together. I know a lot of people like her, and she'll date someone eventually. I just hope she finds someone better, and you are that better person." "Is that all?" Ma Xiaoyu looked at me, smiled confidently, then tossed his flowing long hair, seeming to believe himself that he was the most handsome guy around. "That's all." Seeing Ma Xiaoyu's confidence, I felt completely reassured. "Then how do you plan to help me?" Ma Xiaoyu asked. I immediately took out the guide I had written and handed it to Ma Xiaoyu. "This is the Campus Bell Strategy Guide I put together last night. It details Chun Mingxue's hobbies, favorite animals, favorite foods, favorite drinks, and so on. With this guide, plus how handsome you already are, I think your chances of winning Chunmingxue over have increased by 300%. Ma Xiaoyu took my campus bell strategy guide and looked at it for a moment. His eyes instantly lit up. Good brother, if I successfully win Chunmingxue over, you'll be my benefactor. Seeing Ma Xiaoyu recognize its value, I was naturally happy too. Remember to treat her well. Don't worry, brother. Ma Xiaoyu treasured the guide, putting it away like a precious gem. I'll remember this favor. If you run into any trouble in the future, you can come find me. I definitely won't refuse. Okay. Saying goodbye to Ma Xiaoyu, I returned to the classroom. I thought to myself, with this guide, Ma Xiaoyu winning over Chunmingxue should be a sure thing. Ma Xiaoyu was also quite proactive. By the afternoon, he had someone deliver Chunmingxue's favorite milk tea and snacks, along with a love letter. I had thought Chunmingxue would be very happy, but after she read the love letter, she tore it up directly. Not only that, Chunmingxue, looking displeased, brought the milk tea and the torn letter right over to me. Ma Xiaoyu sent this to you. Why are you giving it to me? I asked. Can I just not like it? Chunmingxue snapped, looking at me unhappily. But this is clearly your favorite vanilla flavor. I said. So was you. Chunmingxue glared at me. I quickly covered my mouth. Crap, I blew it. You told Ma Xiaoyu I like these things, didn't you? Chunmingxue asked resentfully. No, a misunderstanding. I think Ma Xiaoyu just has a telepathic connection with you. So he took a random guess and knew what you liked. I pretended to be clueless, very seriously. Are you trying to fool a 3-year-old? Chunmingxue asked, her face full of disbelief. How could this be fooling you? I shook my head, saying, I was just guessing. Well, your guess was pretty accurate. Chunmingxue clearly didn't believe it. I thought for a moment and said, could it be possible that this is all because Ma Xiaoyu likes you so much? To win you over, he put countless efforts into researching your preferences. Thinking about it this way, Ma Xiaoyu is quite devoted. How touching. Give me a break. Chunmingxue completely ignored my spiel, shot me a glare, and said, I suggest you put those thoughts away and focus on your test papers. The mock exams are coming up soon. If you mess up again this time, your mom will definitely kill you. After saying this, Chunmingxue ignored me. I was utterly baffled. This didn't match the plot from my previous life at all. What exactly went wrong? I even brought out the strategy guide, and it still can't help Ma Xiaoyu win over Chunmingxue? I spent the whole day wondering. When school let out, Chunmingxue and I walked home together. Passing through the shortcut alley, just as we entered, we saw Ma Xiaoyu standing there alone, striking a cool pose, a flower plucked from who knows where held in his mouth. Seeing Chunmingxue approach, Ma Xiaoyu coolly flicked his hair, then dropped to one knee. Chunmingxue, I've liked you for a long time. Before Ma Xiaoyu could finish his confession, Chunmingxue walked straight past, as if she hadn't even seen him. Ma Xiaoyu was dumbfounded. So was I. What should I do? Ma Xiaoyu looked at me and asked. You must persevere. She doesn't like people who give up halfway and lack persistence. Keep going. I immediately encouraged him. Thanks. Ma Xiaoyu nodded and chased after Chunmingxue again. I, on the other hand, stood there watching. Soon, slap. Ma Xiaoyu, who hadn't even managed to say a few words, was slapped by Chunmingxue. Then Chunmingxue stormed off angrily, leaving Ma Xiaoyu standing there, utterly bewildered. When I approached, Ma Xiaoyu looked furious. Chen Tianla, what the hell is going on? I did exactly what you said. I even consulted your strategy guide. This situation is a bit complicated, beyond my expectations. I said, You're not messing with me, are you? Ma Xiaoyu asked, looking displeased. Messing with you? What good would that do me? I retorted. That's true. You really are helping me. Ma Xiaoyu nodded, then said, But Chunmingxue just isn't interested in me. What can I do? Well, I too fell in a deep thought. I couldn't understand it all. In the previous life, Ma Xiaoyu won over Chunmingxue so easily. What on earth happened in this life? Forget it. I heard long ago she was hard to pursue. If you ask me, there's probably no chance for us. I might as well just be my carefree self. Chasing Chunmingxue isn't realistic, and I don't think she's really my type anyway. Ma Xiaoyu shook his head repeatedly, ready to give up. Seeing this, I got angry. Damn it. As a man, How can you give up so easily? You dare yell at me. Ma Xiaoyu looked at me, shocked. Not only will I yell at you, I feel like hitting you. Furious at his lack of fight, I shouted, no wonder Chen Mingxue looks down on you. Someone like you, who gives up at the slightest setback. Forget Chen Mingxue. Even I look down on you. My words seemed to bring Ma Xiaoyu to his senses. He looked at me seriously. Brother, thank you for that wake-up call. I understand what I need to do now. Brother, wait for my good news. Ma Xiaoyu said this and quickly ran off. I didn't know what exactly Ma Xiaoyu had understood. I just hoped he would try harder. After all, someone seems to have said that the world doesn't favor those who reap without sowing, but it also won't let down anyone who works hard. In the following days, Ma Xiaoyu didn't disappoint me. He was persistent every day, confessing his feelings and giving gifts in all sorts of creative ways. However, I don't know where things went wrong. Chen Mingxue turned a deaf ear to all of it. She immediately handed over all the gifts Ma Xiaoyu sent to me, saying this was all trouble I'd caused her, so I had to help digest them. On this day, Ma Xiaoyu faced his, I don't even know how many rejection. After Chen Mingxue left, Ma Xiaoyu looked at me furiously. Bro, your strategy is totally unreliable. Don't give up yet. Something must be wrong somewhere. Let me think carefully, I encouraged him. I won't trust you again. Ma Xiaoyu shouted. Right. My eyes lit up, and I said, I get it. Chen Mingxue likes to connect with people through poetry. In other words, maybe your love letters aren't good enough. You need to write beautiful love letters, something like poems. Maybe that will move her. Really? Hearing my words, Ma Xiaoyu's eyes lit up too. It must be like that. I looked at Ma Xiaoyu and said unhappily, but that has nothing to do with you anymore. Didn't you say you don't trust me? No, I want to trust you one more time. Ma Xiaoyu grabbed me excitedly, but I'm not good at writing poetry, especially love poems. How about this, you help me? No way, I refused directly. Ma Xiaoyu immediately put on a cheeky grin. Good brother. TCH, I scoffed. One poem for one Coke, how about that? Ma Xiaoyu asked. How can love be so materialistic? I really looked down on you. I glanced at Ma Xiaoyu disapprovingly, then nodded, but seeing how sincere you are, I'll reluctantly agree. Great. Ma Xiaoyu was overjoyed. With your literary talent plus my sincerity, it's bound to work this time. For the next few days, I wrote a poem for Ma Xiaoyu every day, and then Ma Xiaoyu would copy it and give it to Chen Mingxue. Sure enough, this time, after Chen Mingxue read them, she didn't tear them up but kept all the poems. Seeing this, I immediately shared the good news with Ma Xiaoyu. After hearing it, Ma Xiaoyu was also overjoyed, saying tearfully that his hard work, racking his brains day and night, had finally paid off. I was speechless. Clearly, I was the one racking my brains, okay? You just copied it down. What part of that was hard work? Of course, I didn't argue with Ma Xiaoyu. As long as I could help them get together, my goal would be achieved. 1 week later, feeling the time was right, Ma Xiaoyu's confidence surged. Same familiar alley, same familiar place, same familiar pose. Ma Xiaoyu confessed again, and again faced a heartless rejection. Watching Ma Xiaoyu get rejected for the nth time, looking utterly devastated, I seemed to hear that song, snowflakes fluttering, north wind whistling. This time, it wasn't just Ma Xiaoyu who was stumped. Even I didn't know what to do. Where exactly did it go wrong? Something that was so easy in the previous life, why is it so difficult in this one? Could it be that my meddling not only didn't help, but actually made things counterproductive? If it really was counterproductive because of me, doesn't that mean this life is different from the previous one? Thinking of this, I didn't have the mind to care about the devastated Ma Xiaoyu anymore. I quickly ran home, dropped my books. I immediately went next door and knocked. The one who opened the door was Chen Mingxue's mother. Auntie, is Xiaoxue back? I asked. Oh, it's Xiaola. Xiaoxue is home. Come on in. Auntie Zhao said, smiling cheerfully. Thank you. Our two families have been neighbors for 20 years, and we're very close. So I didn't stand on ceremony and went straight to the study, quite familiar with the place. In the study, Chen Mingxue was doing her homework. I remembered that in my past life, Chen Mingxue had already fallen completely in love with Ma Xiaoyu by this time. At this hour, she should have been going wild with Ma Xiaoyu. But now, Chen Mingxue was diligently studying. Ahem. I walked up behind Chen Mingxue and deliberately coughed twice. However, Chen Mingxue ignored me. I coughed again. Still the same reaction. I had no choice but to circle around to face her. I need to tell you something. Only then did Chen Mingxue look up at me. If you have something to say it quickly. Spit it out. Rude, I said, displeased. Are you going to say it or not? If not, don't disturb me while I'm doing my practice test. Chen Mingxue snapped. Fine, I'll talk. I gave Chen Mingxue a deep look and asked directly. Do you really not like Ma Xiaoyu? I think he's quite nice. If that's all you wanted to say, you can leave. Chen Mingxue lowered her head and continued with her homework. Seeing this, I grew anxious. Why? I remember you clearly liked Ma Xiaoyu a lot. You were head over heels in love with him. What did you say? I quickly covered my mouth. Damn it. I let it slip. Chen Mingxue getting together with Ma Xiaoyu was something from the previous life. It hadn't happened in this life. Say what you just said again. Chen Mingxue stared at me in astonishment. I realized something was wrong and immediately wanted to leave. As I reached the study door, Chen Mingxue's voice came from behind me. You've been reborn too? I froze on the spot, turning to look at Chen Mingxue. Reborn? Too. Could it be she was reborn too? Could Chen Mingxue have been reborn too? How is that possible? I stared at Chen Mingxue in amazement, my face full of disbelief. You too. Hearing my response, a tear rolled down Chen Mingxue's cheek. I am. This. I couldn't believe it. Not only me, Chen Mingxue couldn't believe it either. Then Chen Mingxue walked up to me, took my hand, and started pulling me away. I didn't know where she was taking me, but my mind was completely blank right then, so I just followed her out. In the living room, Chen Mingxue's mother, Auntie Zhao, was mopping the floor. Seeing Chen Mingxue pulling me out by the hand, she looked surprised. Hey, you two. Mom, I have something to do. I'll be back later. Before Auntie Zhao could ask anything, Chen Mingxue led me out of the house. Auntie Zhao looked puzzled and confused. They're holding hands already? Completely ignoring my presence? Since when did this happen? Outside the residential complex, Chen Mingxue held my hand and kept running. I just followed. In a daze, many memories from my past life surfaced. In my past life, when I found out I had an incurable disease and didn't have long to live, I had asked her for a divorce. That day, she wasn't angry. Instead, she pulled me out of the house. Just like now, we ran and ran. Eventually, we reached Purple Gold Mountain Park and climbed to the summit. She said, "Darkness can't cover the earth forever. The sun will always rise. Light might come tomorrow. Don't give up." Thinking about all this, I looked again at the surrounding streets. Everything seemed to have changed, yet also seemed like nothing had changed. The only difference was that back then, we were both 30 years old, and now we were 18. I don't know how long we ran. Both Chen Mingxue and I were panting. We had arrived at the summit of Purple Gold Mountain Park. Darkness can't shroud the earth forever. The sun will always rise. Well, it might just be tomorrow. Don't give up, Chen Mingxue said, looking at me. At that moment, I completely broke down in tears. A grown man like me, tears streamed down my face. She was really reborn, just like me. Why? I asked Chen Mingxue, crying. Because I'm your wife. Chen Mingxue smiled at me and said. Her smile was so radiant and bright in the night. But I was very confused. Before I could voice my question, Chen Mingxue reached out and covered my mouth. You want to ask why I liked Ma Xiaoyu in our past life, don't you? You want to ask about the last thing I said to you before you died in our past life, right? I looked at Chen Mingxue, nodded silently, waiting for her answer. Because, Chen Mingxue said, looking at me, I never liked Ma Xiaoyu at all in our past life. Impossible. I cried out. Whether it was this life or the last, the person I've loved is you. Chen Mingxue looked at me and said, the reason I got together with Ma Xiaoyu in our past life was actually because I loved you, but you blockhead, were just too slow to realize how I felt. I wanted an answer from you. So to provoke you, I found Ma Xiaoyu and had her cooperate with me in putting on an act. It was all for show, to test whether you actually cared about me. But I never expected you'd be so dense, so foolish, that you wouldn't see through it at all. You even told my parents I was dating. I nearly got beaten to death. Hearing this explanation, I stepped back in astonishment. Was it really like that? I looked closely at Chen Mingxue, finding it hard to believe. Could it be that I had assumed everything all along? But what did you mean by what you said before I died? I looked at Chun Mingxue and asked, I was about to die. Did you still have to lie to me then? What was the point? I meant to deceive you. Chun Mingxue said. Why? I asked. Because the doctors said there was no hope for you. I didn't want you to suffer anymore. Chun Mingxue looked at me, stroking my face, and said, after you died, I was going to follow you. I just never expected that when I opened my eyes again, I'd be back at 18. And I certainly never expected that you'd have come back too. I looked at Chun Mingxue, my thoughts momentarily a jumble. But one thing I understood now, before I died in our past life, Chun Mingxue had told a white lie. So it turned out I had assumed everything all along. Chun Mingxue had loved me all along, and had even followed me in death. How could you be so foolish? I couldn't hold back anymore and hugged Chun Mingxue, weeping bitterly. I'm so glad now. If it weren't for that choice, how would we have ever met again? Chun Mingxue whispered in my ear. I smiled. She smiled too. Our smiles mingled with tears. We laughed through our tears and cried through our laughter. After a long while, Chun Mingxue let go of me, her face slightly red, and asked, Are you still going to try and set me up with Ma Xiaoyu now? No way, never again. I smiled at Chun Mingxue and gave her cute little ear a gentle pinch. Stop that. Chun Mingxue pushed me away playfully. After some playful banter, we sat on the grass, Chun Mingxue leaning quietly against my shoulder. We'll definitely see the sunrise tomorrow, won't we? Yes, I'll be with you. Chun Mingxue nodded vigorously. Then let's not go back tonight, I said. Okay. Chun Mingxue nodded. But if we stay out all night, won't our parents kill us? I asked worriedly. We've both died once already. Are we still afraid of a little pain like this? Chun Mingxue said with a smile. We're not going back until we see the sunrise. All right. I nodded with a smile. We waited and waited. By midnight, since neither of us had eaten dinner, we were very hungry. The night was also quite cold, and Chun Mingxue's stomach was growling loudly from hunger. Seeing her like this, I took off my jacket and draped it over her, then said, Wait for me, I'll be right back. Where are you going? Chun Mingxue asked. I walked off without looking back. On the way, it felt like I had endless energy. I ran to the street and bought 2 savory pancakes. When I ran back to the mountaintop, I didn't see Chun Mingxue waiting where I left her. Chun Mingxue? I looked around frantically. Stop shouting. At that moment, a voice came from nearby. Looking sideways, I saw Chun Mingxue's parents, Uncle Chun and Aunt Zhao. The two walked over with Chun Mingxue, looking at me grimly, their expressions unpleasant. Learning bad things at such a young age. Uncle Chun glared at me angrily. Who taught you this? I sneakily glanced at Chun Mingxue standing behind Uncle Chun. She stuck her tongue out at me, signaling, You're finished. I knew things were troublesome too. Lowering my head, I said, Uncle Chun, it's not what you think. Chun Mingxue, and I just wanted to see the sunrise, to observe this natural phenomenon. Our physics teacher mentioned it too. The physics teacher told you to watch the sunrise. Uncle Chun said angrily. Yes, the physics teacher said that the essence of science often lies in the simplest principles. Many great inventions and creations actually come from nature, like the sunrise and sunset. Maybe this is the starting point for a great invention, I said with a straight face. Bah! Uncle Chin obviously didn't buy my story. He raged. You tricked my daughter away, and you still have the nerve to make such excuses? See if I don't beat you. As he spoke, Uncle Chun started looking around for something to hit me with. Before he could find anything, Chun Mingxue, that traitor, had already handed him a bamboo stick. Dad, here. Hit him hard. You're no good either. I'll deal with you when we get back. Uncle Chun took the bamboo stick and was about to start hitting me. How could I just wait to be beaten? Xiao Xue, I went through all that trouble running to buy savory pancakes for you, and you handed that stick? I'm breaking up with you. Leaving these words behind, I grabbed the 2 bags of savory pancakes and bolted. I ran nonstop all the way home, dashed into the study, opened a test paper, and instantly transformed into a model student. Less than half an hour later, my parents, who had gone out looking for me, returned. With them, of course, were Uncle Chun and Aunt Zhao. I only heard them chattering away indistinctly in the living room. Then my dad rushed into the study, wielding the family heirloom feather duster. You wicked child, taste my feather duster. A beating was naturally unavoidable. It hurt so much I couldn't sleep all night. The next day, I woke up with two black eyes, glaring resentfully at my dad, eating breakfast. Umph. A rabbit doesn't eat the grass near its own burrow. Your Uncle Chun treats you well, but look at you, actually setting your sights on his daughter. Dad snorted coldly. Dad, there's another saying, don't let fertile water flow into others' fields. I reminded him. Still talking back. Dad instantly got angry and started looking for the feather duster again. No one knew the location of that divine instrument better than me. I found a feather duster first and proactively presented it with both hands. Dad paused, stunned for a moment. Looks like you've learned something. In my previous life, I died young and never fulfilled any filial duties toward my parents. Thinking of the pain my parents went through, the white-haired seeing off the black-haired, I naturally felt bad. In this life, I have a chance to make amends, so of course, I cherish this family connection immensely. Dad, if you want to hit me, just hit me, I said, looking at my dad. But I promise after this time, I will absolutely never let this feather duster touch me again. What? Dad roared angrily. You still want to destroy it? No. Mimicking Bruce Lee's gesture, I wagged my finger and said, I'm telling you, from this moment on, your son is going to strive hard. I'm going to get into Tsinghua or Peking University, make you grin every day, and absolutely never bring shame upon you. Dad was stunned. Seemingly intimidated by my aura, the feather duster actually failed to land on me. Mom, beside him, was also stunned, her mouth agape. Since when did our son become so sensible? Mom immediately walked up to me, looking me over from left, right, top, and bottom. Are you really my biological son? Mom, I was rendered speechless. How can a real son be fake? That's not right. How can you have such a grand goal? Mom scratched her head, looking at me puzzled. My real son has never been this ambitious. This time it was my turn to be speechless. So this was how cute Mom and Dad were when they were young. Mom, just give me a chance to become your pride, okay? I asked. In that case, let your dad put away the feather duster first. We'll see how you perform from now on, Mom said with a smile. I chuckled happily, then looked at Dad. Monster, quickly retract your magic powers. Dad paused for a second, then raised the feather duster. Damn it. Looks like I really have to beat you. Another round of family discipline was served. I still couldn't escape it. But to me, this was happiness. After breakfast, I went outside just in time to see Uncle Chun from next door leaving with Chun Mingxue. Seeing me, Chun Mingxue smiled and then said, Oh my, it was so noisy at the neighbors last night, like slaughtering a pig. It kept me awake. Heartless. I snorted coldly. Uncle Chen's fierce gaze immediately shot over. I shrank back nervously. Dad, last night was a misunderstanding. What did you call me? Uncle Chen's eyes widened again. My face turned pale with fright. It's over. I got used to calling him that in my past life, and I often can't correct it in this life. Right now, I can only call him Uncle Chun. You little brat. Looks like your dad went easy on you last night, huh? Uncle Chun glared and shouted, Since your dad can't sort you out, I'll help him sort you out. Don't. I quickly begged for mercy. Uncle Chun, it's a misunderstanding. You called me Dad, and it's still a misunderstanding. Uncle Chun raised his hand angrily. Do I have to wait until you marry my daughter for you to say it's not a misunderstanding? For a moment, I was utterly speechless, unable to defend myself. Just as Uncle Chen's palm was about to fall, Chun Mingxue said, Dad, forget it. He was quite pitiful getting double-teamed by his parents last night. If you hit him again, I reckon he'll end up in the hospital. Maybe save this slap for next time. Oomph. Uncle Chen snorted, looked at Chun Mingxue, and said, Don't you forget what you said, what you promised. Dad, I know. I'm leaving now. Chun Mingxue waved her hand. Be careful on your way, Uncle Chen called out. Got it. Chun Mingxue left cheerfully, a smug look in her eyes. Seeing that smug look, I felt incredibly indignant. Why should I be the one getting hit, while Chun Mingxue gets away with everything? I couldn't help but glance at Uncle Chun with dissatisfaction. Uncle Chun immediately raised his hand. Look again. Uncle Chun, bye-bye. I quickly ran away. After I left, the door to my house opened. Mom and Dad looked at Uncle Chun. Quick, come in and chat. You really want to become in-laws with me? Uncle Chun exclaimed. My son is aiming for Tsinghua or Peking University. He's more than good enough for your daughter. Mom said proudly. Your son said that too? Uncle Chun looked surprised. Why? Mom asked. My daughter said the same thing. Uncle Chun exclaimed. She's so sensible. I almost doubt she's my biological daughter. The proud smile vanished from my mom's face. Then, with a serious expression, she said, could it be they plotted this together to fool us? Dad instantly became furious. Rebellious son. If I had known, I shouldn't have held back. Downstairs, I caught up with Chun Mengxue. Your dad actually didn't hit you last night? What trick did you use? Nothing much. I just said that before getting into university, I definitely wouldn't date anyone. Chun Mengxue looked at my black eye and smiled. And I also said I would definitely focus completely on preparing for the Gaokao, aiming for at least the level of Tsinghua or Peking University. My dad was so moved he was crying his eyes out. So you said that too? I nodded. Reborn into this life, we are no longer naive and certainly not so curious about adolescent matters. For us, getting into a top university is the real joy. As for love, having experienced life and death separation in our past life, for us, just being able to see each other and know the other as well is contentment enough. You said that too? Chun Mengxue asked. Yeah, I said that too, but I still got beaten. I said, speechless. It's better being a girl. You just have to admit you're wrong. Your dad couldn't bear to hit his little padded jacket, but it's different for sons. My dad beats me like he's trying to kill me. Serves you right. You must have talked back, Chun Mengxue said. Your dad is actually quite reasonable. You should just go along with his temper. You have a nerve to say that? You were the one who dragged me to Purple Mountain Park last night, I said, displeased. Hearing this, Chun Mengxue stopped walking and looked at me seriously. What's wrong? I asked. We will definitely see it. Chun Mengxue said seriously, looking at me. Of course, I knew what she was talking about. In my past life, I contracted an incurable disease and didn't make it to my 30th birthday. And now, although I've been reborn, will it be the same as the last life? Will I still not live past 30? I've decided, when I get into university, I'll study medicine, Chun Mengxue said, looking at me with a serious expression. Then I'll study medicine too, I said. No. Chun Mengxue shook her head. You should study the major you like best. You just need to live every day happily. As for your health, I'll take responsibility for it. Hearing Chun Mengxue say this, my heart ached. So what if I've been reborn? I still can't escape that fate. I walked up to Chun Mengxue. Promise me, don't follow me in death this life. Our parents still need you. After saying this, without waiting for her reply, I turned and walked away. Because I didn't want her to see my tears, didn't want her to feel sad. Really didn't want to, not at all. In the period that followed, Chun Mengxue and I didn't have any of the things typical couples do. Every day, I could see her when I looked up, and she could see me when she looked back. For us, that was already enough. We both poured all our energy into our studies, focusing entirely on preparing for the Gaokao. In our previous life, we had already been husband and wife and shared a common goal in our hearts, so our relationship didn't need any distractions. After some time, the test results came out. I ranked first in the class and 12th in the grade. Chun Mengxue ranked second in the class and 26th in the grade. Looking at my results, Chun Mengxue was quite displeased. On the last test, you were still behind me. Then you must not have worked hard enough. I asked with a smile. That's not true, Chun Mengxue retorted, displeased. I obviously spent more time than you. That's not necessarily true, I said confidently. Not necessarily? Chun Mengxue reached directly into my pile of books, rummaged through them, and then found a book called Jinping Mei. I was instantly embarrassed. Actually, I didn't have time to read this book either. A classmate strongly recommended it and insisted I take it. It said that the ancients loved reading this book, and I was curious what held such great attraction for them, so I planned to find out. I didn't expect it would still fail to escape Chun Mengxue's eyes. You even found this? I looked at Chun Mengxue and said awkwardly, actually, save your explanations. If you weren't reading this book, you should have been in the top 10 of our grade. Chun Mengxue said with a look of exasperation, disappointed I wasn't reaching my potential. I gave Chun Mengxue a deep look, then forcefully shoved the book on my desk mate. This book is good. Read it and cherish it. My desk mate looked completely bewildered, but still opened it curiously. After that, my desk mate's grades dropped several places. Of course, that's a story for later. After Chimengshue got angry at my lack of ambition, I studied even harder, focusing entirely on my schoolwork. One day after school, in the familiar alley, Ma Xiaoyu appeared again. Same hairstyle, still so cool and handsome. He wanted to say a few words to Chimengshue, but she just shot me a glare and walked straight away. Bro, you've really had it tough. Ma Xiaoyu said meaningfully. You must have suffered quite a bit from Chimengshue because of my matter, right? Bro, nobody understands me better than you, Ma Xiaoyu. I exclaimed, putting my arm around Ma Xiaoyu's shoulder, acting like sworn brothers. Bro, tell me, why is it? Ma Xiaoyu asked. Why is what? I asked, confused. Isn't it Chimengshue? Ma Xiaoyu frowned. You haven't forgotten about my lifelong happiness, have you, bro? Well, I looked awkward. Forgotten? I'd long since put out of my mind. Besides, this guy was trying to make a move on my future wife. How could I let that happen? Sigh, these past few days, I've really thought things over after the pain. Ma Xiaoyu, completely oblivious to my unfriendly gaze, muttered to himself. Is it because I'm not handsome enough? Or not romantic enough? Can't express my feelings. I just can't figure it out. I'm clearly the most handsome guy in the entire school. So how can she, Chimengshue, not even spare me a glance? But after this test, I've figured it out. I looked at Ma Xiaoyu in surprise. You figured out again? The test. Ma Xiaoyu looked at me excitedly. The grades. Huh? I asked, puzzled. Isn't it clear enough? Ma Xiaoyu analyzed seriously. Chimengxue's rank is second in our class, 26th in our grade. And me? I'm at the bottom of the class, and my name can't even be found in the grade rankings. The gap between Chimengshue and me is right here. And because of this, I can't even enter Chimengxue's field of vision. If I'm willing to study hard, work diligently every day, and raise my grades to a level that even shocks Chimengshue, don't you think she might see me in a different light? And then I'd have a chance, right? Right? I looked at Ma Xiaoyu, astonished. Although Chimengshue would probably never like him. But his idea wasn't bad. Shouldn't students focus all their energy on their studies? That he could now turn the power of love into motivation for studying was actually quite good. Although his motive wasn't pure, his approach was correct. Maybe years later, after he gets into a good university and find a better girlfriend, he'll feel fortunate about this. I didn't want to dampen his enthusiasm, so I immediately nodded and said, Brother, you truly are a once-in-a-century genius. You think I'm right, too? Ma Xiaoyu asked excitedly. Yes, absolutely right. I nodded. But there's something else I wanted to ask of you. Ma Xiaoyu said, pulling my arm, a shy look on his face. What is it? Just say it. I'll agree to anything. I nodded with a smile. Aren't you and Chimengshue neighbors? Which means you can often study and do practice tests together after school, right? Ma Xiaoyu said with a smile. If I could join too, we could form a college entrance exam victory group. Wouldn't we all improve together? Plus, I could use the opportunity to interact with Chimengshue every day and deepen our connection. It's a win-win. I stared at Ma Xiaoyu, stunned. What the hell kind of win-win is that? You win, but I lose big time. You, a poor student, studying with me clearly means I'll have to tutor you. And that's not all. You're even after my girl. No matter how you look at it, I'm the one getting the short end of the stick. I don't know what happened to this Ma Xiaoyu. His brain suddenly clicked. He's way too cunning. What? Seeing I wasn't happy, Ma Xiaoyu asked, You don't think this plan is good? If you don't like it, I have another backup plan, let me tell you. Don't. I quickly waved my hand. Don't say any more. Let's go with this plan, but I have to ask Chimengshue. I must get her agreement first. Of course. Ma Xiaoyu immediately gave me a salute, then said with a look of utmost sincerity, Brother, my entire future rests in your hands. This brother of mine, I really don't want him right now. I grumbled inwardly and said goodbye to Ma Xiaoyu. After getting home, I found Chimengshue and told her about Ma Xiaoyu's proposal. Chimengshue listened, frowning slightly. I think this is actually quite a good idea. You think it's good? I asked. Of course. Ma Xiaoyu usually doesn't try hard. If we can help him improve while we're improving ourselves, it counts as doing a good deed. Chimengshue smiled. He'll thank us later. His goal isn't that simple. I said, Isn't that all because of you? Who told you to be so presumptuous and push him to like me? Chun Mingxue said unhappily. I hesitated. After thinking carefully, I thought about my 30-year-old hurdle. If I wasn't around anymore, what would Chun Mingxue do alone? More friends mean more options. I must pave the way for Chun Mingxue while I'm still alive. Of course, these are just thoughts in my head. I decided to agree to this. Our college entrance exam victory trio was formed the next day. Ma Xiaoyu was the most excited. He told everyone he met, boasting loudly. Even our homeroom teacher found out about it. Because of this, the homeroom teacher called Chun Mingxue and me into the office and earnestly lectured us with a lot of life principles. It basically boiled down to, this is a critical time for the college entrance exam, and we couldn't let a poor student jeopardize our own studies. Chun Mingxue and I nodded repeatedly. Soon, it was time for another test. My score ranked first in the class and ninth in the grade. Chun Mingxue was second in the class and 22nd in the grade. Ma Xiaoyu was the happiest. He had improved from ranking in the 30s in class 6 to 21st in his class. Although he still didn't rank in the grade, his progress was visible to the naked eye. This attracted a lot of envy, and because of it, many people started paying attention to our college entrance exam victory group, and countless others wanted to join. While some were genuinely here for their studies, most had ulterior motives. Many were actually trying to get close to the campus belle, Chun Mingxue. Of course, there was also a group of girls who were likely here for Ma Xiaoyu. After all, although this Ma Xiaoyu guy didn't have great grades, he had good looks and a unique style, which were very attractive to girls. So, naturally, I couldn't agree to let these people join. Besides, the group size really shouldn't be too large. Too many people would just distract everyone, not only defeating the group's purpose, but also reducing efficiency. It wouldn't be worth it. As the leader of the Gaokao Victory Study Group, I naturally had to shoulder the responsibility. I rejected all their applications without mercy. Because of this action, I offended many people. Some people started expressing their dissatisfaction with me privately. Sometimes, I would even overhear some whispers. What's he so proud of? It's just a study group. We'll start one tomorrow too, and it won't be any worse than theirs. Exactly, we didn't even want to join anyway. I bet he just wants daily contact with the campus belle himself, taking advantage of his position. That must be it. I wanted to use this chance to get to know Ma Xiaoyu from class 6, and this guy actually rejected my application. I'm furious. Ignore him. What's he got to be so smug about? I know people in class 6. I can ask them to introduce you to Ma Xiaoyu. There were many kinds of unfriendly comments, but having lived a life before, I naturally wouldn't take them to heart. To me, most people here were merely passers-by in my life. However, although I didn't care about these things, I still underestimated human nature, and a greater disaster would soon befall me because of it. One day, the homeroom teacher called me to the office. When I arrived at the office, I saw another girl sitting there. She wore glasses and looked very quiet. She got very excited when she saw me. Hello. Hello. I responded politely, not thinking much of it. Soon, my homeroom teacher arrived, and with her was the homeroom teacher of Class 7. The Class 7 homeroom teacher looked at me and smiled. You must be Chun Tianma? Hello, teacher. I said politely. Yes, quite impressive. The Class 7 homeroom teacher nodded and then looked towards my homeroom teacher. My homeroom teacher politely asked me to sit down and even pour me a glass of water. Teacher, why did you call me here? There's a national math competition coming up soon. Elite high school students from all over the country will be participating. My homeroom teacher looked at me with a gentle smile. If you can distinguish yourself in such a major competition and achieve a good ranking, you'll have a chance to be preferentially admitted to top universities, securing guaranteed admission. And if you place in the top 3, you're certain to get guaranteed admission to Tsinghua or Peking University. Hearing this, my eyes widened and my heart pounded with excitement. Really? Don't get too excited just yet, my homeroom teacher said with a smile. The spots for the competition are very precious. Our school has many classes, but there are only 3 spots in total. Hearing this, I wasn't worried at all, because I knew very well that since the homeroom teachers from 2 different classes had both come to see me, they must intend to give me one of the spots. Otherwise, why would they have specifically sought me out and mentioned this matter? I smiled. Then, teacher, how can I get the spot? Hearing this, My homeroom teacher and the teacher from class 7 exchanged smiles. My homeroom teacher said, "You could say it's difficult, but it's also simple." What's the condition? The homeroom teacher pointed to the quiet, demure girl beside me who hadn't said a word, stating, "As long as you let her join your college entrance exam victory group, and in the next test, raise her score into the top 50 of the grade, this spot will be yours." I looked at the girl beside me. I never would have thought the condition would be this. This girl looks so ordinary. How could she receive such special treatment? Could it be that her family background is very influential? That must be it. Absolutely. I took a deep breath. But on second thought, no matter how influential this girl's family background was, it had nothing to do with me. For me, this spot was too important. Guaranteed admission to Tsinghua or Peking University, the allure was too great. It directly shut my mouth, leaving me with no excuse to refuse. Well, my homeroom teacher and a teacher from class 7 both looked at me with smiles, seeming very confident in me. "Do you have confidence?" "I can't make any guarantees," I said. "Just your best. We have confidence in you." The homeroom teacher smiled. "After all, you managed to help a poor student improve their grades so much. Helping Guizihan improve shouldn't be too difficult." "All right, I'll take this job." I agreed immediately. The allure of guaranteed admission was simply too great. I simply couldn't find any reason to refuse. After school, Chen Mingxue, Ma Xiaoyu, and I walked together to the school gate, and the girl named Guizihan was already standing there waiting. "Hello, senior." Guizihan immediately greeted me politely upon seeing me. Ma Xiaoyu and Chen Mingxue were slightly taken aback, and both looked at me. "Where did you find this pretty girl?" Ma Xiaoyu looked at me with a knowing grin. "Didn't expect this. You're quite something." "Don't talk nonsense." The homeroom teacher recommended her for our college entrance exam victory group, I explained. "What?" Ma Xiaoyu exclaimed. "Your homeroom teacher actually forced someone into our group?" "No way. It didn't even go through me." "I don't agree. To be precise, it was our class 2 homeroom teacher and the class 7 homeroom teacher teaming up to force her in." I looked at Ma Xiaoyu. "Do you want to challenge 2 homeroom teachers?" "Well," Ma Xiaoyu instantly chickened out. "Just pretend I didn't say anything." Then I looked at Guizihan, introduced Ma Xiaoyu and Chen Mingxue to her, and the 4 of us set off. On the way, Chen Mingxue and I walked ahead, while Ma Xiaoyu intentionally lagged behind, pestering Guizihan with questions, making the girl blush. Chen Mingxue, walking beside me, asked, "You actually bowed to authority?" I couldn't help it. "They really offered too much," I said. "What was it?" Chen Mingxue asked. "The National High School Mathematics Competition." I looked at Chen Mingxue and said, "If you excel in it, you could get priority admission spots to top universities. If you rank in the top 3, you get guaranteed admission to Tsinghua or Peking University." Gasp! Chen Mingxue's eyes widened. This was something every high school student dreamed of. Even she had to admit they had offered too much. It was impossible to refuse. After a moment of surprise, Chen Mingxue glanced back at Guizihan. Who exactly is she? Her family background must be pretty significant, right? Seeing Chen Mingxue so surprised, I glanced back too. I shrugged and said, "Who knows? Anyway, it's not our business." I actually think Ma Xiaoyu seems quite taken with her. Might be something there. Chen Mingxue looked back again. "Indeed. Let's hope this turns out to be a good thing, not a bad one." With Guizihan joining, our group became more lively. Guizihan was very quiet and reserved at first, but after getting familiar with us, she opened up and gradually started talking about everything with us. Chen Mingxue and I took turns tutoring Guizihan, putting a lot of effort into it. Ma Xiaoyu was also putting in a lot of effort. Since Guizihan arrived, he seemed like a changed person, incredibly enthusiastic towards her. This enthusiasm even surpassed his previous enthusiasm for Chen Mingxue. Anyone could see that Ma Xiaoyu was really serious this time and had made up his mind. But we saw through it and kept quiet. Days passed by like this. The results of another test came out. What I cared about most, of course, was Guizihan's score. Without even taking the time to check my own ranking, I ran straight to class 7, found Guizihan, and asked how did it go. Guizihan looked at me, her face etched with disappointment. Seeing this, my heart sank. Didn't make the top 50? That couldn't be right. I had put so much effort into tutoring her. Not just me. Chun Mingxue had devoted a lot of effort too. Besides, Guizihan's original ranking was already around 60th in the grade. With just a little improvement, she should have easily entered the top 50. How could this be? I nervously grabbed the ranking sheet and scanned it from top to bottom. My score placed me 5th in the grade, Chun Mengshue's 19th. Continuing down the list, finally, at the 50th spot, I saw Guizihan's name. I breathed a sigh of relief, looked at Guizihan, and asked, "See, you made it into the top 50, didn't you?" But, Guizihan said, still looking crestfallen, Ma Xiaoyu improved even more. He was originally ranked somewhere around 190th in the grade, and now he's 89th. He jumped over 100 places. Ma Xiaoyu's progress shocked me too. I looked closely, and sure enough, there was Ma Xiaoyu's name at the 89th position. Such rapid improvement. Even professional tutors would give him a thumbs up. Even a bodhisattva witnessing it would shake their head in disbelief. Keep in mind, when I first met Ma Xiaoyu, he ranked in the 30s in our class, and his name didn't even appear on the grade-wide ranking list. I was stunned for a moment, then turned to Guizihan with a smile. "Don't be discouraged. You only joined our study group recently. You'll keep improving." Guizihan looked at me and smiled. "Congratulations to you too." I chuckled happily. Right now, I've only secured a spot to compete. Whether I can actually stand out and finish in the top 3 in the competition is still up in the air. "I'm sure you definitely can," Guizihan said confidently. "Thanks." Without another word, I immediately headed to the head teacher's office. Naturally, the head teacher gave me a thumbs up as well. When the 4 of us arrived home in the afternoon, we found gongs being beaten and drums sounding right at the doorstep. We wondered whose family was celebrating a joyous occasion with such fanfare. The 4 of us looked on curiously, but a big man ran over and, without any explanation, pulled me straight into a hug. "Mister, what are you doing?" I was completely stunned. "You must be Chan Tianla, right?" "Ha. I often hear my son talk about you. You're my son's savior. Thanks to you, he now has hope of getting into university." The big man, beaming with joy, gripped my hand, expressing his gratitude over and over. It turned out he was Ma Xiaoyu's dad. No wonder someone was here beating gongs and drums. I turned back to look at Ma Xiaoyu, who seemed deeply embarrassed by his father's actions, looking like he wished he could just disappear into his collar. After the commotion with the gongs and drums, Ma Xiaoyu's dad insisted on taking us all out to a restaurant to show his gratitude. In the end, we declined, using the excuse that we still had practice papers to finish. However, my parents and Chun Mengshue's parents were dragged off to the restaurant as our representatives. After that, I focused wholeheartedly on preparing for the math competition. In the blink of an eye, it was the 27th. The competition was starting the next day. That day, the head teacher kept me behind after school, asking me to come to his office because there were some specific things he needed to discuss. I didn't know how long the head teacher would ramble on, so I told Chun Mingxue, Ma Xiaoyu, and Guizihan to go ahead and not wait for me. Besides, the competition was tomorrow, and I had a lot to prepare. I told them I wouldn't be going to the study group today, letting them study on their own. Coming out of the office, it was already close to 7 in the evening. At this time in winter, it got dark quickly. By this hour, it was pitch black everywhere. Just as I was about to leave, a student I didn't know walked up to me and handed me a note. "What's this?" I asked. "I don't know either. Someone asked me to give it to you," the student said. "Thanks." Without thinking much, I thanked him and opened the note. It read, "Waiting for you in the lab." Next to it was a name, Guizihan. Seeing those words, I frowned slightly. Didn't Guizihan go to Chun Mengshue's place? Why would she be waiting for me in the lab? I was a bit puzzled, but Guizihan was a decent friend, so I didn't overthink it and went to the lab alone. The school's lab wasn't used often, so the lock was broken, and no one had replaced it. I pushed open the lab door. It was pitch black inside, and I could vaguely make out a figure within. I tried to turn on the light, but it wouldn't switch on. "Guizihan," I called out towards the human-like silhouette inside. The next moment, there was a loud bang behind me. I turned around to see the lab door had suddenly been slammed shut. Startled, I quickly turned back. The door was held shut firmly by someone. I couldn't pull it open no matter how hard I tried. Fear instantly gripped my heart. Not fear of the darkness here, but fear of what would happen to tomorrow's math competition if I couldn't get out. This was something that could change my life. I absolutely couldn't lose this chance. I couldn't think of anyone I had such a deep grudge against. Who on earth would want to harm me like this? Who are you? In desperation, I desperately yelled toward the outside. What do you want? A man's voice came from outside. Chen Tianla, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being clueless. What do you mean? Let me out, I shouted, still pretending. Huh? The person outside yelled. Since it's come to this, I'll tell you straight. Guo Zihan isn't for you. You shouldn't be hitting on her. What? Me hitting on Guo Zihan? What kind of nonsense was this? I pounded on the door angrily. You must be mistaken. Open the door first. We can clear this up. I have nothing to do with Guo Zihan. Huh? The person outside retorted. You think I believe you? You have to believe me. You must. I frankly pulled at the door, but it wouldn't budge. Give up. I've wedged the door shut with a wooden stick. Unless someone comes by right now, find you trapped inside, and opens it from the outside, you won't be able to pull it open, the person outside said. His words drove me nearly to despair, but I couldn't give up, even though I'd likely only be trapped here for one night at most, and someone would rescue me when they came for class the next day. But I couldn't miss the math competition. I pulled hard at the door again. You're just too greedy, the person outside said again. Isn't having the school beauty Chen Mengxue enough for you? You still want to compete with me for Guo Zihan? I don't understand why. I'm clearly better than you. Where exactly did I lose to you? The person outside grew increasingly agitated as he spoke. I, however, calmed down and listened quietly to his monologue. Better than me? I wasn't the type of troublemaker student who fought. So, the way he was better than me could only be academically. And I was ranked 5th in our grade, which meant this person was one of the top 4 in the grade. Among the top 4, there were 2 boys and 2 girls. The person outside was male, so it was either Chen Mingkai or Zhao Guangliang. Chen Mingkai. He's from class 7. Chen Mingkai, ranked 1st to the grade. How could it be him? I was utterly shocked. I never would have imagined, not in a million years, that a nerd almost exactly like me could do something like this. Chen Mingkai. I immediately yelled towards the door. You're Chen Mingkai, aren't you? No, the person outside shouted. Stop pretending. You said you're better than me, so you must be one of the top 4, and there are only 2 boys in the top 4. I said, Zhao Guangliang's voice is very high-pitched. People nickname him Eunuch Zhao, so this voice can only be yours. Hearing my analysis, the person outside fell silent. Afraid he would just leave, I quickly shouted, Chen Mingkai, open the door now. If you open it right now, I'll pretend none of this ever happened. Otherwise, you know, what you've done will ruin your future. Future? Hearing this, Chen Mingkai suddenly grew even angrier, shouting, For people like us, what future could possibly compare to a recommendation to Tsinghua or Peking University? You. Hearing this, my heart sank again. Chen Mingkai knew I had the competition tomorrow, yet he deliberately tricked me into coming here and locked me in. Meaning, he intentionally set me up to make me miss the competition tomorrow. This guy is terrifying. My grades are clearly the best in the grade, so why wasn't this opportunity given to me? Why was it given to you? Chen Mingkai's escalating shouts came from outside again. It's not fair. Calm down, I yelled. How can I calm down? Chen Mingkai shouted. I'm clearly better than you at everything. Yet I have nothing compared to you. The school beauty, the class beauty, they all like you. Even a recommendation spot goes to you. Why? I won't accept it. But your grades are still the best in the school. With your ability, you can definitely get in on your own. I knew anything I said now was futile. I could only try to soothe his emotions and explain the stakes. Open the door quickly. You can't disregard your future just because of this bit of jealousy. Think about your parents. Think about your... I spoke for a long time, but there was no longer any sound from outside. Chen Mingkai had already run off. How could this happen? I sank powerlessly to the floor, my face filled with despair. Knowing Chen Mingkai had left, I was utterly desperate. I walked to the window. This was the top floor of the school, the 6th floor. I considered trying to climb down from here, but it was too high. Besides, there were no good footholds or handholds nearby, and I wasn't good at climbing. The probability of falling and getting injured was definitely over 60%. I wanted to take the gamble. But ultimately, I thought of Chen Mingxue, thought of my parents, especially recalling my previous life. how I left at 30, the pain of my white-haired parents mourning their black-haired son, and how Chun Mingxue followed me in death. I suddenly felt the weight on my shoulders was heavy. I couldn't disregard them because of a moment's impulse. Climbing down from here, I had less than a 40% chance of success. Those odds were too low. The burden I carried was heavy. I still had to be filial to my parents. I still had to see Chun Mingxue happy every day. Besides, even if I attended the competition, it wasn't guaranteed I'd get the recommendation. Conversely, even if I lost this chance, it didn't mean I couldn't get into a top university. All of this calmed me down. I couldn't take the gamble. This bet wasn't worth risking everything for. I leaned against the corner, sat on the floor, and became completely calm. I spent the whole night thinking. It wasn't until near noon the next day that people came to the top floor lab for class. I was let out. The physics teacher looked at me, astonished, and asked what had happened. I didn't say a word. Soon, I was taken to the office. My head teacher saw me, his face full of disappointment. Do you know how precious this spot was? Do you know what kind of opportunity you've missed? I'm sorry, I said, lowering my head. Teacher Zhang said you were locked in the rooftop lab. What exactly happened? The head teacher asked, his face dark. Hearing this, I looked at the head teacher. Can I choose not to say? What do you mean? The head teacher frowned. If I say it, I might ruin that person's life. I looked at the head teacher and said, but he's a promising student. I don't want him to fall into an abyss because of this. You kid. The head teacher looked at me angrily and yelled, try to be a saint? No. I shook my head. Who doesn't make mistakes? Even saints err. And I just want to give him a chance, that's all. You saint, you're so kind, the head teacher said angrily. Then what about me? How am I supposed to explain this to the school? Just tell the truth. Say I refused to reveal who it was. I said, oh, right. Actually, what really happened was after I was tricked into going inside, the person locked the door. So I didn't get a clear look at what they looked like either. So, you're not technically concealing anything, are you? The head teacher laughed, exasperated. Yes, I nodded. Hid. I don't believe you don't know who it was. The head teacher, still unwilling to give up, said, how about this? You tell me who you suspect it was. I just won't report it. Sir, I really don't know who it was. And I can't accuse someone based solely on suspicion. I shook my head. If you're not satisfied, you can investigate it yourself slowly. Leaving him with these words, I walked straight out. Who said you could leave? The head teacher shouted, but I ignored him. Downstairs. My parents had already heard the news and arrived anxiously. Not just them. Chun Mingshua's parents were there too. They asked me one after another what happened. I recounted the incident once, then said I was shaken up, tired, just wanted to rest, and didn't want to talk anymore. Seeing me like this, my mom didn't ask further questions and took me home to rest. Actually, the reason I didn't name Chun Mingkai wasn't because I'm some kind of saint choosing magnanimity. It was actually the result of a whole night of careful consideration. Firstly, Chun Mingkai's grievances from last night are still vivid in my mind. The world truly isn't fair to everyone. Many people might have experienced similar unfairness, but that doesn't mean someone treated unfairly by fate is irredeemably evil. Chun Mingkai is just too young. He chose the wrong way to protest. Secondly, from a practical, self-interest perspective, Chun Mingkai did this to me. If I retaliate immediately, what do I gain? Someone stabs you, you stab them back. And then what? Have you gained any real benefit? What's lost is already lost. Is mutual retaliation worth it? To put it more bluntly, Chun Mingkai is probably not thinking clearly right now, likely on the edge of madness. Someone like that is too dangerous at this moment. If I expose him now, not only do I gain nothing, but it might risk him being expelled from school. That way, I'd ruin his life, completely destroy his future. Wouldn't that push him into a desperate situation? Wouldn't someone cornered fight desperately and do something even crazier? If this incident drives Chun Mingkai completely mad, leading him to do something with consequences I truly cannot bear, then I would really regret it beyond measure. I might not be afraid for myself, but I'm afraid for the people around me. For example, might Chun Mingkai go after Chun Mingxue? If something like that were to happen, I absolutely couldn't bear it. These are the real-world stakes. Our ancestors already taught us how to handle these things with their wisdom. When will the cycle of revenge ever end? It's better to forgive when you can. I feel my choice wasn't wrong. Besides, from a purely self-interested perspective, revealing his identity would only harm him, and I wouldn't gain anything. On the contrary, perhaps not revealing him is how I maximize my own benefit. I'll have leverage over him because of this. He'll owe me a favor because of this. Even if he doesn't feel he owes me a favor, his conscience will bother him. He's a human being, not a devil. Humans have feelings. I rested at home all day. In the evening, Chun Ming-Xue, Guo Zihan, and Ma Xiaoyu all came to my place to see me and help me catch up on the day's lessons. After 10 o'clock, Ma Xiaoyu and Guo Zihan left. Chun Ming-Xue and I saw them off downstairs. Seeing Ma Xiaoyu and Guo Zihan's relationship getting better and better, I realized Chen Mingkai must have misunderstood. It was clearly Ma Xiaoyu who was pursuing Guo Zihan, but he mistakenly thought it was me. I got dragged into this innocently. You definitely know who it was, don't you? Chen Mingkai. I didn't want to hide it from Chen Mingxue, so I told her the answer directly. Chen Mingxue listened in disbelief. But Chen Mingkai is consistently one of the top students in our school. How could he dare to do something so outrageous? Because of you. I looked at Chen Mingxue and teased her. What does it have to do with me? Chen Mingxue asked curiously. I put on an air of mystery, looked up at the moon, and said, mimicking the ancients, since ancient times, beautiful women have always been a source of trouble. You're annoying. Chen Mingxue punched me lightly in frustration. What does it have to do with me? You're so pretty. Chen Mingkai has a crush on you. And I'm his rival in love. So naturally, he'd hate me, right? I said with a smile. Impossible. Chen Mingxue's eyes flashed. She pointed at me and said, tell me the truth right now. It definitely wasn't because of that. Spit it out. I'm just not telling you. It was fun teasing her. Being chased all the way by Chen Mingxue, I felt very happy. Missing the chance for direct admission wasn't too big a blow for me. The most precious things to me are my family and friends around me. Their health and happiness are my greatest wish. Chen Mingxue and I teased and chased each other along the way. When we got hungry, we went to eat malatang on the street together. Chen Mingxue kept asking me about it the whole time, but I just wouldn't tell her. When we got back downstairs in the residential complex, from quite a distance, I saw a thin figure. I stopped walking and grabbed Chen Mingxue's hand. What are you doing? Chen Mingxue swatted at my hand. I pointed towards the distant figure. Here comes the answer. Chen Mingkai. Chen Mingxue was furious. She shook off my hand, stormed up to Chen Mingkai angrily, and slapped him right across the face. Why? Facing Chen Mingxue's anger, Chen Mingkai lowered his head. I'm sorry. It was a moment of impulse. Chen Mingkai cried. Perhaps at that moment, he also felt scared. Is just saying sorry useful? Chen Mingxue shouted at Chen Mingkai. If apologies were enough, would the world even need a distinction between good and bad? I'm sorry. I know apologizing doesn't solve the problem, and I know what I did was terrible, but Stop. Chen Mingkai cried his eyes out, constantly repenting. Chen Mingxue was very angry and gave Chen Mingkai a fierce scolding. I stood aside watching quietly, not saying a word, letting Chen Mingxue vent her anger at him. Although I chose not to report him, he was indeed wrong. Criticism was still necessary where it was due. Besides, the college entrance exams were actually getting close. Chen Mingxue had been under a lot of academic pressure recently, and this was a perfect opportunity for her to vent, killing two birds with one stone. Soon, Chen Mingkai couldn't stand Chen Mingxue's accusations anymore and knelt before me. I'm sorry. I've thought it through. I won't evade responsibility. If you tell the teacher my name now, I won't resent you. Stop. Chen Mingkai confessed, still kneeling. Why are you being so hypocritical? Chen Mingxue exclaimed indignantly. You know perfectly well Chen Tianla didn't turn you in today, and he won't tomorrow either. Why bother saying things like that? It's precisely because he didn't turn me in that I feel even more guilty. Chen Mingkai said through tears. If Chen Tianla had given my name today, I would actually feel relieved. Hearing this, the fierce-looking Chen Mingxue paused for a moment. Only then did she understand why I hadn't exposed Chen Mingkai, even though I knew it was him. Chen Mingxue immediately shot me a look. The look seemed to say, retreating to advance, you're quite something. I smiled and returned a look that said, Thanks for the compliment. Then I walked over to Chun Mingkai and helped him up. It's all right. Actually, while locked in the lab last night, because of you, I did a lot of thinking. I feel that you and I are alike. We're both pitiful people. You? Chun Mingkai looked at me in surprise, seemingly not understanding my meaning. Actually, I have an illness. I won't live past 30. I said, looking at Chun Mingkai. What? Chun Mingkai's eyes widened instantly. Hit. I gave a nonchalant smile. Now you know why I said we're both pitiful, right? Strictly speaking, you're much luckier than me, aren't you? What kind of illness is it? Chun Mingkai asked in surprise. Why don't you get treatment? If it were curable, don't you think I'd want to live a few more years? I said, shaking my head. This? Chun Mingkai was completely stunned, his eyes filled with sympathy as he looked at me. Help me keep this secret. Don't tell anyone. Even my parents don't know about this. Only you and Chun Mingxue know, I said, looking at Chun Mingkai with utter sincerity. But Chun Mingkai's eyes welled up again. I'm sorry. I was even jealous that you got the spot for the math competition. I'm truly not human. I'm an animal. Stop. Chun Mingkai slapped himself a few times, crying. I smiled and stopped Chun Mingkai. You don't need to blame yourself. This has nothing to do with you. It's just my fate. Chun Mingkai was moved to tears. I didn't need to say much more. He already owed me a huge favor. By the way, why don't you join our college entrance exam victory group too? I looked at Chun Mingkai and extended the invitation. With you joining, our group will be even stronger, like adding wings to a tiger. From now on, we can push each other academically. It will definitely benefit everyone. With my character, am I qualified to join? Chun Mingkai asked, looking ashamed. Only the three of us know about this. No fourth person will find out, don't worry. I said with a smile, after school tomorrow, just come over with everyone else, okay? Okay, I'll definitely do everything I can to help you become number one in school. Chun Mingkai said, wiping his tears as he looked at me. Then aren't you personally cultivating a competitor? I asked with a smile. Without a competitor, I'd find it boring. Chun Mingkai laughed. We chatted about some lighter topics, and then Chun Mingkai left. As he left, he kept looking back again and again. And here I was, only 18, already having reached the pinnacle of moral character, persuading others through virtue. After Chun Mingkai left, Chun Mingxue looked at me. Aren't you something? Quite the expert at persuading through virtue now, are you? Piece of cake, I said with a smile. Now you understand whether my approach to handling this was right or wrong, don't you? I have to admit, that move of yours was pretty impressive. Chun Mingxue praised me, a rare occurrence. I was instantly pleased. How about a kiss as a reward? Dream on, Chun Mingxue huffed, turning to leave. But I thought of something important and quickly grabbed Chun Mingxue. In our past life, you didn't bear me a child. We can't miss out this time around. Anyway, don't even think about touching me before university. Chun Mingxue blushed and left in a huff. The next day, news of Chun Mingkai joining our Gaokao Victory Study Group caused another stir. Suddenly, many more people wanted to apply to join. I continued to ruthlessly refuse them. The group size limit couldn't be too large. Too many members would lead to chaos, not only failing to help everyone improve, but actually hindering individual efficiency. Ma Xiaoyu and Guizahan were also surprised by Chun Mingkai's addition, but they didn't dwell on it and welcomed him. After all, Chun Mingkai's grades had consistently ranked first or second in the school for years. The addition of such an academic ace was naturally welcome. However, as time went on, problems soon emerged. Chun Mingkai and Ma Xiaoyu became love rivals. Both had actually developed feelings for Guizahan. And as time passed, we naturally learned more about Guizahan's background. Her father was the chairman of a publicly listed company, making her family extremely wealthy. Of course, I didn't envy any of this. With only 30 years to live, all I needed was for my family to be healthy and well. However, while I didn't care about such things, Chun Mingxue did. Ever since learning about Guizahan's incredibly strong family finances, Chun Mingxue paid more attention to her, and their relationship grew closer. I actually knew what Chun Mingxue hoped to gain, but I wasn't optimistic about it. Soon, only 2 days remained until the Gaokao. During these 2 days, we all advocated for relaxation, aiming to face the final exam in the best possible condition. Therefore, our study group stopped meeting. Everything that needed learning had been learned. Now, it all came down to performance on the day. However, I felt particularly tense these few days. I was scared. I was afraid I wouldn't do well on the exam and would disappoint my parents. With only 30 years to live, I hoped to be my parents' pride throughout my entire life. Precisely because I had set such high goals for myself, the pressure I felt was incomparable. My parents noticed my stress and comforted me, telling me not to overthink, yet the more they comforted me, the greater the pressure I felt. As evening approached dinner time, knock, 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 a knock sounded at the door. I opened the door to find Chun Meng-shue standing outside. She was dressed especially beautifully today, exuding the captivating charm of a fairy. Gazing at the exceptionally stunning Chun Meng-shue today, I gradually became lost in the sight. Have you stared enough? Chun Meng-shue asked, blushing slightly. Not yet, I said, staring at her. How can you be so beautiful today? At least you have good taste. Chun Meng-shue glanced at me, then took my hand. Come with me. Where are we going? I asked. Don't worry about it. Just follow me, Chun Meng-shue said, pulling me along. Although I didn't know where she was taking me, following her made me feel very much at ease. We went out onto the street, and Chun Meng-shue led me to a restaurant for dinner. This place is expensive, isn't it? I looked at the restaurant's decor, then at the dishes Chun Meng-shue had ordered. I felt this meal wouldn't cost less than several hundred yuan. Several hundred yuan. For us, that was a huge sum. What are you afraid of? It's not like you're paying. Chun Meng-shue handed me the menu. Take another look. Anything else you want to order? This is plenty. We won't be able to finish it all. I quickly waved my hand and said. Seeing me like this, Chun Meng-shue smiled. What are you afraid of? I have money. Where did you get so much money? I asked. Hee. My dad gave it to me, Chun Meng-shue said. My future father-in-law. I looked surprised. Yes, Chun Meng-shue smiled. My dad said you seemed a bit off these past few days, so he told me to treat you to a nice meal to help you relax. He also told me to tell you, the Gaokao College Entrance exam is the day after tomorrow. Just eat and drink what you should. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. I felt a surge of emotion listening to this. I hadn't expected my future father-in-law, who usually seems fierce, to be so concerned about me. Thinking of this, I looked at Chun Meng-shue, who looked especially beautiful tonight, and smiled. Looks like your father has completely accepted me. Marrying you should be a sure thing now, right? In your dreams. Marrying me isn't that easy. Chun Meng-shue retorted, displeased. You haven't fallen for someone else, have you? I asked, dissatisfied. What are you thinking? The food's here. Hurry up and eat. After you're full. I have other plans, Chun Meng-shue said, looking at me with a slight blush. I didn't dare disobey her command, stuffing myself with food, afraid to waste any. This was a big meal treated by Chun Meng-shue. Wasting it would be a sin. After dinner, Chun Meng-shue took me for a walk down the street. When we passed a men's clothing store, she insisted on dragging me inside to try on clothes, buying me a whole new outfit from head to toe. Leaving the men's clothing store, seeing Chun Meng-shue had spent several hundred more yuan, I couldn't help but ask, this wasn't your father's idea too, was it? How much money did my father-in-law actually give you? Don't worry about it. Tonight, just focus on relaxing. Chun Meng-shue didn't answer. After shopping and buying clothes, she pulled me along to watch a movie. When we came out of the cinema, it was already 10:30. Let's go home, I said, holding Chun Meng-shue's hand. No, we're not going back tonight. Chun Meng-shue stopped, her gaze shifting to a nearby hotel. We're staying here tonight. Ah, I looked at Chun Meng-shue stunned. She had clearly said that before university, she wouldn't think about such things, nor would she date anyone. But now, I looked at the hotel again. What? Chun Meng-shue looked at me and asked, this is the most precious gift I'm giving you. Don't you want it? Of course I want it. I looked at Chun Meng-shue. She looked truly beautiful tonight. Then you're just shy? Chun Meng-shue asked. We were husband and wife in our past life. What do I have to be shy about? I said worriedly. I'm afraid of your dad. He won't kill me, will he? Before I left, I told my dad I wasn't coming home tonight, Chun Meng-shue said. And your dad agree? I asked nervously. He didn't say anything. He neither agreed nor disagreed. Chun Mingxue said, looking at me. So, that means he tacitly agreed? My heart leaped with joy. Chun Mingxue nodded shyly. Seeing this, I didn't say another word, just held Chun Mingxue's hand tightly and walked towards the hotel. The Gaokao ended smoothly. I scored over 600 points. Chun Mingxue scored 12 points lower than me. Both of us underperformed slightly, not reaching our expected scores, but I felt very content. Chun Mingxue and I chose the same university. As for the other 3 members of our Gaokao victory group, Chun Mingkai scored over 700 and got into Peking University. Ma Xiaoyu didn't score very high, but he was a winner in life. He had won Guo Zihan's favor, and even her father spoke highly of him. He became the prospective son-in-law of a listed company's boss, already winning at life's starting line. Before the semester started, the 5 of us gathered for a meal. Finally, we ended up at the summit of Zaijinshan Park. The 5 of us each made our own wishes. After making the wishes, Guo Zihan looked at Ma Xiaoyu and asked, "What did you wish for?" "I won't tell you. It won't come true if I tell you." Ma Xiaoyu smiled, looking at Guo Zihan. "What did you wish for?" "I won't tell you either." Guo Zihan ran off quite angrily, and Ma Xiaoyu quickly ran after her to coax her. Chun Mingkai walked up to me, his face serious, and said, "My wish is—" "You don't have to say it." I quickly interrupted. "Didn't you hear Ma Xiaoyu just now? Once you say it, it won't come true." "All right." Chun Mingkai gave me a deep look. "I will be grateful to you for life." "Good brothers don't say things like that. Today is supposed to be a happy day." I smiled, then put one arm around Chun Mingkai's shoulder and the other around Chun Mingshue's. The 3 of us looked towards the distant night sky. Perhaps we all saw into the boundless depths of the distant universe, saw the brightest star in the night sky. That represented the people and things most precious in our eyes. As for what wish Chun Mingxue made, I knew without asking. And my wish, there was no need to say it. Chun Mingxue knew too. Chapter 17. Falling in university life began. Chun Mingxue chose medical science. This was the wish she had made. I chose economics and trade. I knew I wouldn't live past 30, and I knew Chun Mingxue couldn't get pregnant. We wouldn't have our own children, but we would still be together. And I wanted, in my remaining years, to establish a decent company. This company would be like a child to Chun Mingxue and me. After I was gone, this company would take care of Chun Mingxue and both our parents for the rest of their lives, ensuring they wouldn't worry about food or clothing. This was my wish. Time flew, and soon it was university graduation. During university, my main focus wasn't actually student life, but rather working various part-time jobs. By graduation, I had already saved over 200,000. Of course, this still wasn't enough for me to start a business. To support my entrepreneurial venture, Chun Mingxue went home and fought hard, finally getting 500,000 cash as an advance on her dowry from her dad. When Uncle Chun gave me the passbook, his face was dark. "You brat, if you squander all this money of mine, just see how I'll deal with you." "Don't worry, Uncle Chun. That's absolutely impossible. You have to trust me." I shamelessly tried to take the passbook, only to find Uncle Chun gripping it tightly. I couldn't pull it away at all. "Uncle Chun, anything else to add?" I asked. "Money lost can be earned again, but I need to make one thing clear to you. You absolutely cannot let my daughter suffer any grievances. If you dare to wrong my daughter, you're finished." Uncle Chun shouted, his face dark. Anyone could see that he was using the pretext of his daughter's happiness, reluctant to part with his money. Seeing that I couldn't get the passbook no matter how hard I tried, Chun Mingxue said, "Dad, just relax. Your daughter is vouching for this. You might not trust others, but surely you can trust me." "Umph." Uncle Chun snorted coldly, saying reluctantly, "This was originally meant for your dowry. But now, you haven't even married yet, and you've tricked the dowry away." "Oh, Dad, isn't it just a matter of time?" Chun Mingxue laughed. "Once Chen Tianla gets this company set up, you could just wait to enjoy the good life." "Me? Enjoy the good life?" Uncle Chun said dismissively. "It'll be good enough if you young people can manage your own lives without dragging me down." "Dad, look at you. There you go again." Chun Mingxue said, "You're not reluctant to part with this money, are you?" This hit the mark, but only Chun Mingxue dared to say it. Uncle Chen's face darkened further, finally letting go. "How could I be reluctant? Forget it, never mind. Seeing this, my dad immediately stepped forward, chuckling. In-law, don't overthink it. Come, let's drink. Tonight, we won't go home until we're drunk. Even if I get drunk, I won't go home. Uncle Chin shouted, his face still dark. My dad chuckled, right. Not going home even if drunk. After they started drinking, they immediately began calling each other brothers and boasting to the high heavens. My mom and Annie Zhao, on the other hand, started discussing things like Chun Mengshuez and my wedding arrangements. Holding the 2 million raised from selling one of our family's apartments, the 500,000 given by Chun Mengshuez's dad with a dark face, plus my own savings, totaling over 2,700,000, I embarked on my entrepreneurial journey. Starting a business is even more exhausting than working a job. Working a job, you can just coast until quitting time, not worrying about anything afterward. But when you run your own business, even after closing time, you still have to worry about the company's affairs. Especially for a novice entrepreneur like me, with little practical experience, I took some wrong turns and suffered many setbacks. In the second year, the company fell into a pit, facing bankruptcy. This was unacceptable to me. I didn't have much time, and my family couldn't afford for me to mess things up like this. In these 2 years, not only had I squandered the family savings, but I had also accumulated over $1 million in debt. Because of this, Chun Mengshuez and my wedding had been repeatedly postponed. Some say failure is the mother of success. But in my view, it isn't. When ordinary people fall, they might never get back up. Where would they get another chance? Facing the imminent bankruptcy of the company, I was almost in despair. For several days straight, I slept at the office, not going home. One day, Chun Mingxue came to the office. Why haven't you come home for days? I thought you were messing around with Xiao Wang from the office. Do I even have the luxury? My face full of dejection, I looked at Chun Mingxue. I wanted to cry. I felt I had let her down. Even more so, I had let down the full support of both sets of parents. I was such a failure. If you want to cry, just cry. Cry out loud. There's no shame in a man crying. Chun Mingxue came over and held me in her arms. At that moment, I couldn't hold back any longer. Wah! Like a 3-year-old child, I burst into tears, wailing loudly. But just then, bursts of mocking laughter came from nearby. Ah, how pitiful. Who's this? Crying so miserably. I thought I'd walked into a kindergarten. 3 mocking voices were heard. I looked up and saw Chen Mingkai, Ma Xiaoyu, and Guo Zihan walking over. Seeing the 3 of them approach, I quickly let go of Chun Mingxue. Why are they here? Afraid of being embarrassed? Chun Mingxue asked with a smile. Exactly, Ma Xiaoyu chimed in as he approached. What embarrassing things didn't you do as a kid that we don't know about? Are you still afraid of losing face in front of us? I gave a wry smile and looked at them. I originally thought that by next year, I could meet everyone as a successful entrepreneur. I didn't expect you to show up when I'm at my lowest point. You must find this laughable. TCH. Ma Xiaoyu sneered dismissively. Even if you become successful, I'll still remember how you used to run for 20 minutes just to save a few bucks fetching our late-night snacks. Exactly, Guo Zihan added with a laugh. Remember that year in college, when it was your turn to treat? To save money, you made us walk so far. I was even wearing high heels, almost broke my feet. It brings tears to my eyes just thinking about it. Chun Mingkai chimed in with a sigh. You guys have no idea? Once, he asked me for a favor. I traveled all the way from school to meet him, and after we finished, he treated me to a bowl of spicy hot pot, then said he was about to be late for his part-time job, and just left me there. The others joined in, venting their complaints at me. I was instantly overwhelmed with embarrassment. The next moment, 2 bank cards appeared in front of me. Chun Tianla, this is all my salary from the past few years, my savings for marriage. I'm handing it all over to you. You can't lose it again, can you? Chun Mingkai said, holding the cards. Ma Xiaoyu also pulled out a bank card. This is all the money I've earned from mooching off others over the years, my future livelihood. You can't fail again. When you make it big, and I can't freeload anymore, I'll have to come crawling back to you. Ma Xiaoyu, how dare you say that? Guo Zihan immediately pinched him. I was deeply moved. Hugging Ma Xiaoyu and Chun Mingkai, I cried again. Whatever. I'd already embarrassed myself. What was one more time? After the embrace, I took everyone back to my place. Back in high school, we used to study together every day, either at my house or Xiaomingshue's, so my parents knew them well. They'd missed them after not seeing them for a while. After catching up, I learned that Ma Xiaoyu was now a sales VP at a company. Chen Mingkai worked in the R&D department of another firm, specializing in software development. Seeing how everyone had grown up and made something of themselves, my parents were deeply moved. After dinner, Chen Mingxue and Guo Zihan chatted about women's topics. I took Ma Xiaoyu and Chen Mingkai to the balcony for a smoke. I offered them cigarettes, and they both accepted. "So, you guys like a smoke too?" I asked with a smile. "Ah, no choice," Chen Mingkai sighed. "Sometimes my thoughts are all over the place, and with work pressure, I finally understand what it means for a man to light up when he's lonely." "Yeah," Ma Xiaoyu nodded in agreement. "You? What pressure do you have?" I looked at Ma Xiaoyu. His dad might seem old-fashioned, but he was actually a decently successful contractor, pulling in hundreds of thousands a year on good projects. Plus, Ma Xiaoyu was now attached to Guo Zihan, a rich heiress whose father was a big-shot CEO of a listed company. Money was the last thing he lacked. "Ah, you don't know my struggles," Ma Xiaoyu sighed. "Over the years, Guo Zihan even had an abortion because of me. The reason we haven't married yet is because of her father." "Why?" I asked. "He looks down on you? Thinks your family's poor?" "No. He said he doesn't care about background. He built himself up from nothing. But she's his only daughter, so what matters to him is his son-in-law's character and ability." Ma Xiaoyu sighed. "So, he told me to prove myself by achieving something. Only then would he agree to our marriage." Hearing this, I felt a pang of emotion. Ma Xiaoyu looked at the cigarette in his hand and sighed again. Over the years, using Guo Zihan's father's connections, I met all kinds of successful people. The biggest lesson I've learned is that no matter what class you're from or who you are, everyone faces struggles in their own field. Life isn't easy for anyone. Ma Xiaoyu's words had Chen Mingkai and me nodding in agreement. We lamented life's hardships, complained, but also dreamed about the future. That's the simplicity of men and our shared sentiment. We stayed until 10 p.m. before parting ways. Chen Mingxue and I walked them downstairs. Chen Mingkai smiled at me. "You know what I wished for last time at Purple Mountain Park? I just hope I can help you out this once. No need for all this between good brothers." I patted his shoulder and said, "I think when we have time next, we should get together again, go to Zaijinshan Park again, and make our wishes again." Chen Mingkai suggested, "What do you guys think?" Everyone looked at Chen Mingkai, each lost in their own thoughts. Yes. Now, we were long past our high school days. Every one of us had changed. We'd become more mature, more reserved, and our minds had become more complicated. We all unanimously agreed with Chen Mingkai's suggestion. After Chen Mingkai drove away, I watched Ma Xiaoyu get into the car. Seeing his smile, I felt quite emotional. Actually, I knew Ma Xiaoyu very well. On the surface, Ma Xiaoyu seemed cheerful, but I could actually tell that among us friends, he had the most on his mind. If he hadn't chosen Guo Zihan, he would definitely be the most carefree one among us now. But I also knew his feelings for Guo Zihan were real. For this love, he had sacrificed a great deal. Thinking of this, I pulled back Ma Xiaoyu, who was about to get in the car, hugged him, and said in his ear, "If you ever feel wronged, if you ever want to cry, just come to me. You can vent loudly, cry loudly here with me. We won't laugh at each other, right?" Ma Xiaoyu looked at me deeply. "Bro, sometimes you understand me better than she does, but I can't cry." "All right." I gave Ma Xiaoyu a thumbs up. "You're stronger than me." Seeing this, Ma Xiaoyu hugged me back and said in my ear, "If I really can't hold on anymore, if I need to cry, I'll definitely come find you. Promise you won't mind then." "Goodbye." I said, "Goodbye." Ma Xiaoyu released me, his usual smile returning to his face, got in the car, and left. Chen Mingxue then came to my side and asked, "You and Ma Xiaoyu were hugging and all. What secrets were you two whispering?" "That's men's business," I said. "If you don't want to say, then I don't want to know." Chen Mingxue turned away angrily. In the middle of the night, Chen Mingxue asked again in my ear, "What did you two really talk about?" I looked at Chen Mingxue and smiled slightly. "That you're beautiful. You're impossible." After gathering with my good friends, I no longer felt down. It seemed their arrival had recharged my energy, giving me motivation again. Of course, friendship was just a supporting factor. The main thing was the money they brought. Chen Mingkai brought 500,000, and Ma Xiaoyu brought 2 million. With this capital, my company got a chance to turn things around, to slowly climb out of the hole. A year passed. I turned 26. With 4 years left on my life's countdown clock, my company was finally on the right track, with annual revenues in the tens of millions and annual net profits reaching several million. Although the company had struggled for several years, for me, this was just the beginning. I was very confident that, given enough time, I could grow the company to achieve annual profits in the hundreds of millions. One day, I accompanied Chen Mingxue to the operating room. Chen Mingxue was now part of the medical community. Through a colleague's introduction, there was a surgical procedure that might give her a chance to conceive again, but the technique was still immature. Chen Mingxue, our parents, and I discussed it for a week. Finally, due to Chen Mingxue's insistence, we all agreed to let her try it. In her words, from medicine to advance, someone always has to make sacrifices. If you don't even dare to try, how can you progress? She was willing to make a sacrifice for medicine, and at the same time, give herself a chance at hope. What none of us expected was that 6 months after the surgery, Chen Mingxue actually became pregnant. For us, this wasn't just medical progress. It was our success. Our whole family was overjoyed, especially my mom, who practically hovered around Chen Mingxue all day, never letting her out of her sight. Since Chen Mingxue was a doctor herself, she knew it was a boy. When she said this, my dad was more excited than anyone. I pressed my ear against Chen Mingxue's belly to listen. Is it really a boy? My colleague's exact words were, "The hospital has regulations. We're not allowed to disclose information about your son," Chen Mingxue said, mimicking her colleague's tone. I was speechless. That wasn't a hint. It was an outright statement. That was just too blatant. I immediately said, displeased, "But I wanted a daughter." Rascal. Before I could continue, my dad had already picked up the family treasure, the feather duster. Anyone who dares dislike my precious grandson will face the family discipline. Scared, I quickly begged for mercy. "Dad, you misunderstood me. I just hope Chen Mingxue has more children. It's absolutely not that I dislike your precious grandson." "Really?" Dad stared at me, eyes wide, his face full of disbelief. "Dad, put the treasure away quickly. We can't let it get damaged. You still have to pass it down to me. Otherwise, what will I use to discipline my son in the future?" I chuckled, signaling for Dad to calm down. Seeing he was still reluctant to put away the feather duster, I said again, "Dad, Xiaoxue and I are only in our 20s. You'll definitely have a second and third grandson later. Without the feather duster, I really won't be able to discipline the kids. Please put the treasure away." "Oomph." Hearing this, Dad finally snorted. "You said it yourself. Don't worry. Your son guarantees mission accomplished." I immediately saluted. The next month, Chen Mingxue and I held our wedding ceremony. Chen Mingkai, Ma Xiaoyu, and Guo Zihan also came to the wedding. That night, which should have been for the traditional wedding night hazing, I, the groom, and Chen Mingxue, the bride, had both slipped away, nowhere to be found. The crowd of relatives were left like headless flies. Meanwhile, Chen Mingxue and I had already arrived at Purple Mountain Park. The 5 of us went to the mountaintop again, making our respective wishes. Unlike when we were 18, when we were playful and noisy, asking each other what we had wished for, now we had all become more composed. After making our wishes, the 5 of us were very quiet, all looking up at the night sky. "Shooting star." Chen Mingxue suddenly pointed at the night sky and exclaimed. Watching the meteor streak across the night sky, gone in a flash, the corners of our mouths turned up slightly in unison. That was our hope and light. Another year passed, leaving 3 years left on my life's countdown. My child was born. Watching him cry day after day, I forced myself to smile every day. But having only 3 years left to live made me increasingly uneasy inside. Just like the silence that night, after the 5 of us made our wishes, it felt as if all the laughter and joy had vanished. On the day of the child's 1-month celebration, the 5 of us gathered together again. You could tell that Chen Mingkai seemed to have something on his mind. After the meal, Ma Xiaoyu and I pulled Chen Mingkai aside to ask him what was wrong. Chen Mingkai handed each of us a cigarette, his face full of melancholy. "I shouldn't have chosen this major in the first place," he said. The competition is too fierce. I, I got fired from my company. Ma Xiaoyu and I patted him on the shoulders, one on each side. Why don't you try starting your own business? I asked after thinking for a moment. Start my own? Chun Mingkai looked at me and asked. Yeah, you have the technical skills, you know the field. Starting your own software development company. Wouldn't that be great? I said with a smile. Yeah, Ma Xiaoyu nodded along. That's a good idea. I agree too. But, Chun Mingkai said, looking at me hesitantly, starting this kind of business is different from yours. Mine would probably need tens of millions in capital just to get started. And that's me estimating conservatively. It's an amount of money you probably can't even imagine. I have experience with this. When you start your own business, you have to do everything yourself. You can't compare your spending to that of a large company. I patted Chun Mingkai and said, if you're willing to start a business, I support you. And in the early stages, I can help you with the finances for a while to help you save costs. I know a thing or two about that. How about Brother Lu and I each support you with 5 million? Ma Xiaoyu added. This. Chun Mingkai was deeply moved but still hesitated to act rashly. He said, if I fail, it'll be a loss of at least 10 million. Even if you guys are doing better now, this amount is too much. If I fail, not only will I be too ashamed to face you, but my family doesn't have much savings. I won't be able to pay this money back. Then we'll join as shareholders. Ma Xiaoyu smiled. If we make money, we get rich together. If we lose money, we bear it together. That's sharing fortune and adversity, right? Brother Lu, what do you think? I nodded and handed Chun Mingkai a cigarette. Enough talk. Let's do it. Get it started. Well, Chun Mingkai took the cigarette, looked at me, then at Ma Xiaoyu. Then, I'll give it a try. Light it up. Ma Xiaoyu chuckled and lit Chun Mingkai's cigarette. Another year passed. We were 28. There were 2 years left on the countdown to the end of my life. Chun Mingkai's company successfully developed a piece of software. Several companies were interested in buying it, with the lowest offer being 50 million. Some large corporations even took notice of Chun Mingkai's R&D capabilities, wanting to invest or acquire his company outright. This guy Chun Mingkai, who kept saying he wasn't capable, had not only succeeded in his business, but also found love. He had gotten together with a female executive in his company, and they were already discussing marriage. He was very happy and threw a celebration party. However, Ma Xiaoyu and Guo Zihan didn't show up. I asked Chun Mingxue to check. After she inquired with Guo Zihan, she found out that Guo Zihan and Ma Xiaoyu had broken up. How about this? Xian and I will go check on Guo Zihan. Alu, you and Chun Mingkai go find Ma Xiaoyu. We'll split up, Chun Mingxue suggested. Okay. Chun Mingkai and I nodded in agreement. I sped all the way to Ma Xiaoyu's house. His dad said Ma Xiaoyu hadn't been home for over a month. At first, they could reach him by phone, but later Ma Xiaoyu stopped answering. They were worried too. Back in the car, I looked at Chun Mingkai. Where do you think he'd go? If it were me, I'd go to that wishing place. Chun Mingkai was very smart and immediately thought of that. I thought so too. We drove to Zaijinshan Park. At the summit, sure enough, someone was lying on the grass, surrounded by many empty liquor bottles. The once cheerful and narcissistic Ma Xiaoyu now looked like a beggar. Chun Mingkai wanted to go comfort him, but I held Chun Mingkai back. To me, Ma Xiaoyu was like a former student of mine. He had been on the wrong path, and I had dragged him back to become a good student. Seeing him waste away like this, so dispirited, made me angrier than anyone. I walked up to Ma Xiaoyu and kicked him. Get up. Ma Xiaoyu slowly opened his eyes. Before he could say anything, I rushed forward and started punching him. Bang, bang, bang. I kept hitting him. Ma Xiaoyu got angry too and fought back. Chun Mingkai tried to break it up and ended up getting hit many times himself for no reason. When we were tired from fighting, we finally stopped. Chun Mingkai took out cigarettes and handed them to us. Looking at each other's ridiculously bruised and swollen faces, we shook our heads and, surprisingly, laughed. The laughter was genuine, as if we were all back at 18 again. I took a deep drag from my cigarette and looked at Ma Xiaoyu. You know what? The first time I saw you, I didn't actually like you, because you had absolutely no drive. But later, watching you grow up step by step, do you know how happy I was? I didn't expect that now, 10 years later, you're worse than when you were 18. So when I see you, I just want to punch you. Ma Xiaoyu cried. Tears welling up, he said, Brother Lu, everyone says I'm with Guzihan for money, but I'm not. Iuridi lavihar, sobi. Of course I know. Watching Ma Xiaoyu cry like a child, I put my hand on his shoulder, nudged his head, and said, Of course I know you did it for love. But Guzihan might have changed now, plus your family statuses are just not on the same level. No, Ma Xiaoyu suddenly shouted. She still loves me. It's just her father insisting on breaking us up. His company hasn't been doing well these years, so for profit, he's willing to marry his daughter off to the Zhao family. Are you sure? I asked. Brother, do you believe me? Ma Xiaoyu asked back. I paused for a moment, looking at Chun Mingkai. Just then, Chun Mingxue, who had gone over to Zahan's side, sent me a message. Broke up, but not happy. I showed the message to Ma Xiaoyu. Holding my phone, Ma Xiaoyu burst into tears again. Seeing his heartbroken state, I stood up and shouted, Fight against fate. Never give up. Brother, what do you mean? Ma Xiaoyu looked at me with teary eyes and asked. Crash the wedding. I looked at Ma Xiaoyu and shouted, The brothers will crash the wedding with you and snatch the bride. Are you in? All right, let's do it. Chun Mingkai held out his hand. The three of us stacked our 6 hands together. Fight against fate. Never give up. 2 weeks later, at a certain grand hotel, 2 weddings were being held simultaneously. Only one side was bustling with people coming and going, incredibly lively, while the other side didn't even have a bride. Just as the Zhao family's wedding reached the point where the bride and groom were walking into the venue, I rushed onto the stage and snatched the microphone from the MC's hand. Who are you? The MC was startled. All the guests present stared at me in astonishment. I'm a deity from the heavens, here to bestow a great love. You wouldn't stop me, would you? I looked at the MC. The MC frowned. Perhaps thinking I was someone from the Zhao family with a special arrangement, he nodded politely, gesturing for me to continue. Holding the microphone, I looked at Guzihan, who was about to walk onto the stage, then took out the love letter Ma Xiaoyu had written and began reading it aloud on the spot. That year, you were 18, and I was 18 too. The first moment I saw you, I knew I belonged only to you in this life. It was also that year we fell in love. You asked me what love was, and I told you love is forever. After reading the love letter, Guzihan was already streaming tears. I shouted loudly, Guzihan, are you happy right now? Then Ma Xiaoyu, dressed in a groom's suit, walked out from behind me. Seeing Ma Xiaoyu appear, Guzihan's father was utterly shocked. Ma Xiaoyu held a ring in his hand and knelt on one knee. Guzihan, I hate your father, but I want to take you as my wife. Marry me. Guzihan's face was covered in tears. Then Chun Mingkai came over with a microphone and started singing a love song. You ask me how deep my love is, how much I love you. My feelings are real, my love is true. The atmosphere at the scene had been pushed to its peak, but it still needed one final push. Just then, Chun Mingxue appeared, coming up behind Guzihan. He's asking you, were those things you once said real? These words struck Guzihan's heart, and scene after scene of precious memories surfaced. Guzihan couldn't hold back any longer. Hiking up her wedding dress, she ran, crying, to Ma Xiaoyu. Marry me, okay? Ma Xiaoyu asked excitedly. I do. Guzihan nodded desperately. In front of everyone, Ma Xiaoyu personally placed the wedding ring on Guzihan's finger. Zhao Xian set off the confetti cannon. Colorful ribbons danced in the air. In that moment, Ma Xiaoyu and Guzihan looked like a divine couple, utterly beautiful. In front of everyone, we successfully whisked away the bride. Arriving at the real wedding venue meant for Ma Xiaoyu and Guzihan. But just at this moment, when everyone was excited, I suddenly felt dizzy, my nose started bleeding profusely and wouldn't stop, and then everything went black. Thump! I clearly felt myself fall, but I felt no pain. I was only 28. I had thought death wouldn't come for another 2 years, but it arrived early. When I opened my eyes again, I was on an operating table, surrounded by a group of doctors. The attending surgeon was none other than my wife, Chun Mingxue. Seeing her incredibly focused expression, I managed a faint smile. I wanted to reach out, but I had no strength. She didn't acknowledge me, as if she hadn't seen me, just focused intently on completing her surgery. Again, my vision went black, and I passed out. I entered a dream. In the dream was the scene from last time when the five of us were making wishes. My wish was, I don't want to die. I couldn't bear to leave my friends, my wife, my family. I want to watch them grow old. A shooting star streaked across the darkness. I opened my eyes again. Before me were Ma Xiaoyu and Guazahan, Chen Mingkai and Zhao Xiyin, Chen Mingxue and our son, and also my parents and Chen Mingxue's parents. He's awake, he's awake. Everyone cried out joyfully. I looked at Chen Mingxue. Am I not going to die? It's not that quick. Chen Mingxue came to my side, holding our son. She let me grasp his hand and smiled slightly. But we have hope now.